Happy Halloween 2023, gals and guys. I'm kind of doing something different this time out. For Peacock, they have a lot of the Puppet Master movies on here. So I know Full Moon started with the Puppet Master movies. I'm not sure if Full Moon's still around anymore or who produces these anymore. And I know they're not particularly good, at least not the first couple. But I'm going to buckle up and sit down and enjoy the ride, I guess. And I'm going to watch these movies. I'm going to watch them all. They're not all on Peacock. These are the ones that are on Peacock. So I'm going to kind of cheat and give you links to other sites. But I know there's like a dozen of them out there. They're not very long. So I'm going to try to sit through all these. And I don't know. I'll play the trailers and stuff. If they become redundant, if my reviews become redundant, they'll be short and sweet. I'll give you a little background on each movie. Give you a little thoughts on what I thought of each movie, and we'll get through this together. Okay, so let's try out this Puppet Master shit. And here are all the websites, different services where you can go on and watch free movies and television series. Most of them have advertisements, but they're not too obtrusive. And here are all the Puppet Master movies. Oh my lord, I don't know what I got myself into. There's a lot of them, and I couldn't even fit them all on one page. I had to fit one over on its own page there. That's the last one they did in 2022. And please look below in the description. That's where all the links to all the films are, where you can link and watch them. And then certainly in the comments, put what you think about the films or this video and my reviews. This is a little guy in his underoos with thumbs up. This is a little guy in his underoos with thumbs down. And here's the Peacock logo. That's the site that we're going to concentrate on this time out, but there'll be links to other sites as well. Puppet Master is a 1989 American horror film written by Charles Band and Kenneth J. Hall and directed by David Schmoeller. The film stars Paul Lee Matt, Irene Miracle, Matt Rowe, and Catherine O'Reilly as psychics who are plotted against by a former colleague using puppets animated by an Egyptian spell. Originally intended for summer of 1989 theatrical release before being released on home video the following September, Puppet Master was ultimately pushed to a direct-to-video release on October 12th of 1989, as Band felt this was likely to be more financially successful than the theatrical market. It was very popular and has since developed a large cult following and a franchise. Assailed by nightmarish visions, Alex Whitaker and his fellow psychics descend on the Bodega Bay Inn. There they discover their compatriot. Neil had apparently committed suicide, but as the gruesome visions continue, they sense that there's still something sinister afoot. When they find themselves hunted by a band of homicidal marionettes created by twisted puppeteer Andre Toulon, they discover they're right. This film had a lot of filler, be it in the opening titles, the stock footage, and the voiceovers. I get the fact that this was a low-budget and direct-to-video movie, and it had cut corners for that very fact. There are a lot of low-budget movies out there that work beautifully with a quality script, something Puppet Master lacked. William Hickey showed up in the beginning, and to me, he'll always be Lewis from the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Good to see him again in this film. This franchise has a big following, and the first film did well. The stop motion is fun to watch if you're into the effects. With this film, that's only a few minutes worth of those stop motion effects. Maybe this would have been more interesting when it first came out in 1989. It's just a really bad film. But it did open the door for a slew of sequels, so I may be in the minority on this one. Let's see if the second one gets better. Puppet Master 2 is a 1990 direct-to-video horror film written by David Pabian and directed by Dave Allen. It is the second film in the Puppet Master franchise, the sequel to 1989's, The Puppet Master, and stars Elizabeth McLellan, Gregory Webb, Charlie Spradling, Jeff Weston, and Nita Talbot as paranormal investigators who are terrorized. This sounds very familiar. As paranormal investigators who are terrorized by animate creations of an undead puppeteer played by Steve Wells. Puppet Master is an an American horror film series that focuses on a group of anthropomorphic puppets animated by an Egyptian spell, each equipped with its own unique and dangerous device and represented as heroes, anti-heroes, and antagonists. The franchise was created by Charles Band and Kenneth J. Hall. Produced by Full Moon Features, the series was established in 1989 with the eponymous first installment, which has since been followed by 10 sequels, a crossover with the characters of Demonic Toys, a 2018 reboot entitled The Littlest Reich, a spin-off film about the puppet Blade, a spin-off film about retro puppet masters Dr. Death, 2 comic book miniseries, an ongoing comic book series, a free-to-play multiplayer video game by October Games, as well as numerous other collector items. Full Moon Features is an American motion picture production and distribution company headed by B-movie veteran Charles Band. It is known for the direct-to-video series Puppet Masters, Trancers, which I love Trancers, and Subspecies, as well as the film Castle Freak. As a kid, I did watch the Trancer series and loved them. I never checked the Puppet Master series out until now. I'm not impressed yet. The script and pacing are much better with this film. It's a terrible movie, but not as painful to watch as the first one. It's a forgettable movie. I watched it and did a small write-up in April of 2023, and as I finished this review in early June, I don't remember one thing about this movie. I had to go back and skim through the film in order to finish this movie's review. It's pretty sad. That's the last impression it left me. It left no impression. I have no memory of what the plot was or any of it. From a technical standpoint and a movie-making standpoint, the film is solid. The whole franchise is solid. It's the terrible scripts that make the first 2 practically unwatchable, and we still have a lot of sequels to get through. Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge is a 1991 direct-to-video horror film written by Charles Band, C. Courtney Joyner, and David Schmoeller, and directed by David Decotia. Sorry, I butcher names. I do that. It is the 3rd film in the Puppet Master franchise, a prequel to 1989's Puppet Master, 1990's Puppet Master 2, and stars Guy Relf as a puppeteer whose ability to animate lifeless material attracts the attention of the Nazis, whose members are played by Richard Lynch, Ian Abercrombie, and Walter Gotell. Toulon's Revenge, as well as the 2nd, 4th, and 5th installments of the series, were only available in DVD format through a Full Moon featurette box set that has since been discontinued. However, in 2007, Full Moon Features reacquired the rights to the 5 films, and the box set has since been reissued and is available directly from Full Moon, as well as through several online retailers. It seems the acting and the writing are much improved by this 3rd installment. It also cracks me up when they use stock footage in these films. Whenever this movie is showing crowded and busy streets, not any of the actors are in that footage. Then they cut to a scene with like 3 people. I know, we're low budget here. It's not a bitch or anything. I'm not complaining. I just found it very interesting how those cuts worked. The film was filled with wonderful 80s and 90s character actors with Guy Relf, Sarah Douglas of the Christopher Reeve Superman films fame, Walter Gotell, who seems to be typecast into playing Germans or Russians, Ian Abercrombie, who I have seen in a bunch of movies in my youth, Aaron Eisenberg from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, my favorite Star Trek show, and the great Richard Lynch, who I think popped up in all television shows or B-movies I watched in my lifetime. All these actors have since left this world, except Sarah Douglas, who is alive and well and still beautiful. We have more of a solid movie here. I liked it for what it was. It was fun seeing these actors all together in one film, and they propelled the material. I still don't feel it was a great or even good movie, but it was way above the first 2, and it gave hope for the films ahead of me to watch. I'm still not sure how this whole thing turned into a sustainable franchise. Maybe I'm just not a Puppet Master fan altogether, but I guess we will put it to the text the next film and find out. Puppet Master 4 is a 1993 direct-to-video horror film written by Charles Band, among others, and directed by Jeff Burr. It is the 4th film in the Puppet Master franchise, a sequel to 1991's Puppet Master 3, and stars Gordon Curry as a young prodigy who, along with his friends, played by Chandra West, Jason Adams, and Teresa Hill, is attacked by demons, the animated puppets of Andre Toulon, served to protect the group, similar to the role they played in the prequel Toulon's Revenge, rather than terrorize as they had in the 1st and 2nd films. Originally, Puppet Master 4 was intended to have the subtitle The Demon. They must have spent too much money on the cast of the last movie, although Guy Relf does return. The 3rd film was starting to show potential and getting into a stride. With this film, the franchise went backwards. Terrible acting. I think they hired the actors for this movie out of like a posting on Craigslist. This is by far the worst installment so far. If I didn't commit to watching every single Puppet Master film, I would have turned this shit off. The only cool thing about this movie is the puppets, of course, that by form don't take up much of the movie. The terrible acting populates this disaster. Oh, and the script is terrible. I think the creators of this movie want to forget about it as well. I couldn't even find a good quality trailer to go along with this review. All the other films have good quality trailers I can find online. This one, not so much. What the hell happened? There are 5 people credited as writing this piece of shit. Perhaps that should be the first sign of the potential quality. Then I looked at the comparison of David Ducotio, who directed Puppet Master 3, and then Jeff Burr to their other credits. Jeff Burr has directed a lot of sequel shit, a lot of crap. Ducotier has tons more experience behind his belt. My fear moving forward is that Burr directs number 5 as well. My saving grace is that Ducotier is back for 6 and 7 and is involved in the future Puppet Master Axis of Evil film. So it will be interesting to compare all those films to see if it was the director that made this particular one a piece of shit. Puppet Master 5 is a 1994 direct-to-video horror film written by Charles Band, among others, and directed by Jeff Burr again. Yay. It is the 5th film in the Puppet Master franchise, the sequel to 1993's Puppet Master 4, and stars Gordon Curry as the series' 3rd Puppet Master and Ian Ogilvy, his colleague, who attempts to salvage the animated puppets of Andre Toulon from Bodigo Bay Inn. A being from another dimension sends its own puppet to steal the formula that keeps Decapitron, this is a Transformers, and is Kidrid alive. I could care less about the plot. I zoned out several times. It was impossible to be interested in this mess. As in the previous film, the puppets serve as protagonists rather than terrorizing as they had in the first and second films. As the subtitle indicates, Puppet Master 5 was intended to be the final installment. However, in 1998, a 6th, Curse of the Puppet Master, was released, and the series has been ongoing since. Yay. We'll talk about those moving forward, but for now, let's talk about this piece of shit. Once again, I couldn't find a quality trailer to post for this film. That was not a good sign. This had all the same players involved in Puppet Master 4. I assume these were written and filmed back to back. This was a tad better than Puppet Master 4, or maybe I was just in a better, more forgiving mood. The script was still crap, the acting was still crap. As I sat there watching this, I was thinking, the puppets aren't the issue. The puppets are iconic and awesome. The puppets would have made it for an awesome action figure line, and they do become action figures down the road. That's all this idea is good for. The movies are not good. The concept of the puppets is awesome, and obviously the reason people watch these things. I think maybe definitely the timing was off to start these characters off as action figures, as they probably should have. Action figures for adults didn't really start until McFarlane Toys got into the game in 1994, and they didn't really get into the horror film figures until like the late 90s. But yeah, Puppet Master would have been better served as action figures and then make a movie after that. I don't know. Thankfully, this was not the final chapter, as it would have ended in shit, but then I'm afraid what shit is about to follow. Perhaps a fresh approach will boost this franchise from absolutely terrible to somewhat bearable. Curse of the Puppet Master is a 1998 direct-to-video horror film written by Benjamin Carr and David Schmoeller and directed once again by David Ducotier. David is back. Let's see if he can do better than the Burr dude. The 6th film in the Puppet Master franchise stars George Peck as scientist Dr. McGrew, who experiments with transforming humans into puppets. While Puppet Master 5 was intended to be the final installment 4 years earlier, financial success and fan demand spawned Curse, which borrows quite heavily from the 1973 eco-horror film okay, S. That's how they spell it. Serving as a standalone sequel that promptly revived the series, which has been ongoing since. I would say this is a reimagining of the Puppet Master franchise while also posing as a prequel to the original. An unsuspecting woodcarver goes to work for an evil collector of living puppets, Dr. Magoo, who is looking for his next victim by transferring the soul of another unsuspecting person into one of his puppets. Again, not a great or well-written movie. I will say on the positive side, I didn't zone out like I did with both 4 and 5. I actually kept up up with what was going on. Not that these movies have intricate plots. It's just that I get so bored watching them that I start thinking about my grocery list or what YouTube video to make next. I would say this film is up there with a third of the franchise in quality, or with the third of the franchise in quality. So far, I think the third is the best one I've seen. Also, the animation and the look of the puppets are getting crisper with each movie, and that does hold my interest. But I don't watch movies to follow the mechanics of special effects. I follow them for a good story. At this point, Puppet Master movies exist for puppets and little else. The ending of this film kind of ends on a cliffhanger, I suppose. Perhaps the plot thread will be picked up in a future movie. I really don't know. I just know it doesn't get picked up in the next one. The continuity of these things is all over the place. Retro Puppet Master is a 1999 American direct-to-video horror film written by Charles Band, Benjamin Carr, and David Schmoeller, and directed by David DeCotio as Joseph Tennant. Did he not want his name associated with these films anymore? Who knows? I don't blame you, David. Retro Puppet Master is the seventh film in the Puppet Master franchise, a prequel to 1991 Tolan's Revenge, and stars Greg Sestero as young Andre Toulon, Jack Donner as an Egyptian responsible for teaching Toulon how to animate his puppets, and Stephen Blackheart, Robert Radovianu, and Vitaly Bandis, sorry folks if I mispronounce your names, as demons who pursue Toulon for his magic. The timeline of these movies is all over the place, and yes, I know I already said that in the last movie review. I just wanted you to know I meant it. Peter Hertz, who was rescued from the Nazis as a child by Andre Toulon in the 1940s, is now an old man and has inherited the puppets. He is pursued by an assassin who forces him to tell her the entire history of Toulon and the puppets in the form of flashbacks, because we all love flashbacks. While Retro serves to explain how Toulon began practicing the spell which animates his puppets, it ignores what was originally established in the second film as exactly how he learned the spell of animation. The film was also Guy Ralph's final appearance as Toulon, save for flashback footage in The Legacy. Guy Ralph died on October 19th of 2003. This is a great movie if you want to hear terrible actors use fake accents for 80 minutes. That absolutely doesn't get on your nerves in the least. At this point, I'm not holding out any hope that any of these movies are any good. I'm about halfway through the Puppet Master series of movies, and they are all pretty much terrible. Pretty terrible. I would think a series that lasted this long and was so popular would have a diamond in the rough. I mean, we got Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, all had their stinkers, but not every single movie. In full disclosure, I'm just trying to get through these films the best I can at this point. I'm not 100% paying attention. I'm writing other projects while I have them in the background playing, looking up to see if there's any semblance of competency in the dialogue or acting. Nothing so far. Let's keep going. Puppet Master: The Legacy is a 2003 direct-to-DVD horror film written by C. Courtney Joyner and David Schmoeller and directed by Charles Band. It is the eighth installment in the Puppet Master franchise, the sequel to 1994's Puppet Master 5, The Final Chapter, and stars Jacob Witkins as an elderly Peter Hertz, a character who appeared as a child in Tolan's Revenge, and Kate Arsini as a mercenary hired to confront Hertz for information regarding the magic puppeteer Andre Toulon, used to animate his puppets. The majority of the film consists of flashbacks using footage recycled from the previous 7 films. Considering those movies were terrible, we can assume this movie will be equally, if not more, terrible. This movie was 70 minutes of stock footage from other shitty movies. Why was this even made? What they should have done, which would have been both cool and acceptable, was to do some kind of retrospect with interviews and behind-the-scene clips, perhaps. Not mush footage from a bunch of movies that suck to make another movie that sucks. It makes no sense. This movie reminded me of what they did in Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2 in order to save money. The show compiled a show using stock footage. It was the last episode of that season. Big difference there is Next Generation is a television show that didn't cost me anything. The makers of Legacy sold this piece of shit. What a con job. This wasn't some film exclusive for Sci-Fi or a cable network. It was a direct-to-DVD sale marketed to people that probably already own the other movies. Marketed, I'm sure, to rental stores that had no idea what they were getting. It's kind of scummy. Just another reason to absolutely hate this franchise, as I'm really starting to do. I came in with expectations of at least some low-budget mediocrity, As I continued to watch, I just see a travesty of a franchise with a cool concept and nowhere to go with it except into the ground. Shame on Full Moon Productions, shame on the people behind this movie and the franchise as a whole. Perhaps they thought it was a love letter to the fans. Who knows what the thought process was behind it? To me, it just seemed like an easy cash grab. But I'm a cynical, grouchy old fart. What does the angry video game nerd say? What were they thinking? Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys is a 2004 American horror comedy film based on the characters of Charles Band and Kenneth J. Hall of Puppet Master and David S. Goyer of Demonic Toys. The film is written by C. Courtney Joyner and directed by Ted Nicolai. The film stars Corey Feldman as the great-grandnephew of Andre Toulon and Vanessa Angel as the head of a toy-making factory that plans to dominate the world using its latest line of holiday products. It was a made-for-TV film that debuted on December 18th of 2004 on NBC Universal's Sci-Fi. The movie is a follow-up of 1993's Dollman vs. Demonic Toys and loosely a follow-up to Puppet Master: The Legacy. It was later followed by 2010's Puppet Master: Axis of Evil. I couldn't find a good copy of the trailer, so I kept the video small for the purpose of this video. I'm not sure if I should stick this one into the Halloween reviews or the Christmas reviews. I guess technically I could do both. This movie started automatically right after Retro Puppet Master, which I was paying zero attention to. I actually need to go back to it and watch it from the beginning for my review. I was about to turn off the television when the Christmas movie started. I was interested because, as I mentioned, I also do Christmas movie reviews for the holiday. I didn't realize until the title appeared this was a Puppet Master movie and the one I needed to watch for this video anyways. And I saw that Corey Feldman was in the film, which I didn't know, so I decided to continue to watch. Vanessa Angel also stars in the movie. I recognized the face but couldn't figure out where I'd seen her before. IMDb answered that question. She was in 3 episodes of a show I watched religiously, Stargate SG-1. Like all the other Puppet Master movies, the script garbage. Vanessa Angel and Corey Feldman's overacting was the glue that kept me stuck to the film. They both chewed their dialogue. I'm guessing they also knew it was garbage, but also a paycheck and did the best with what they were given. The movie was terrible. Now I officially sound like a broken record because all the Puppet Master movies so far have been terrible, and I seem to say that with every review. Director Ted Nicolai was approached to direct Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys upon the recommendation of Charles Band. Intended to serve as a made-for-TV Christmas horror special for the Sci-Fi Channel, the film is a crossover with the Puppet Master series. Nicolai was not a fan of the series since he liked working with people, not with puppets, but wanted to direct as he had not had the chance to direct in quite a long time. The film critic Scott Weinberg wrote a negative review of Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys on DVD Talk, writing that it was not funny, it's not scary, and it's certainly not a worthwhile way to spend 90 minutes of the time you're given on this planet. Dread Central covered the film in a retrospect of the Puppet Master series, writing that this made-for-TV movie isn't considered canon, but it is a vast improvement over the legacy. Comicbook.com has also reviewed the movie, calling it gleefully, self-consciously awful. It's amazing, he adds. Okay, if you like awful. The director Ted Nicolai was critical of Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys in 2017 interview with Video Fag, as he felt, F-U-G-U-E, Video Fag, as he felt that it was kind of a big mistake, I think, in a lot of ways. And that's probably true. That's a perfect closing to this movie review. It was a big mistake, a big old Christmas lump of coal. Puppet Master: Axis of Evil, also known as Puppet Master 9: Axis of Evil, is a 2010 American action horror film directed by David Ducotier. It is the 9th official entry into the Puppet Master series of horror films. This movie was going to be the real test. It's been 4 years since Legacy. This was the chance to get new and fresh direction going, perhaps get some new blood into this disaster. Of course, it's being directed by David Ducotier. I can never pronounce his name, so I guess not new blood. I was ready to let bygones be bygones. I was ready to start fresh. This movie starts and the character Danny Coogan is first on scene, portrayed by actor Levi Filer. I mean, he is an actor. He was actually acting. The dialogue wasn't particularly good, but what he had to work with, he acted. So 1 point for the movie. The character returns in the next movie, but unfortunately not with his actor. Then we get some flashbacks. This franchise loves flashbacks. Why shoot new scenes when you can use them from other movies? The Puppet Master movies have a terrible habit of doing this. Yes, I know it saves money. How many times can I watch the same scenes thrown into a movie from another movie? A lot, apparently. 1 point for suck. Score so far, movie 1, Suck one. At this point, it's just a matter of running through the rest of these movies. It's no longer an interest in seeing if these get better. It's a matter of getting through them with all my brain cells intact. My intention when starting this video and watching the Puppet Master movies was never to tear them apart. I was hoping for some good cheese. I know Full Moon produces very low-budgeted films. As I indicated, I grew up with and loved the Transfer series. I suppose it was more due to Tim Thomerson and Linda Hunt than the actual movies. They were just fun muck. Puppet Master is muck without the fun. There isn't a Tim Thomerson or a Helen Hunt among the cast. There isn't a cast member I particularly found stood out. Puppet Master 3 was the closest to the fact they actually had known actors in that movie. That was the only one. That was the only one I really cared for so far. But I'm not holding my breath. I will say more as we continue through the rest of the movies. I'll need something to say after each film beyond, wow, that sucked. Puppet Master 10 Axis Rising is a 2012 American action horror film and is the 10th entry in the Puppet Master film series. Produced and directed by Charles Band, it is a direct sequel to 2010's Puppet Master, Axis of Evil, and introduces new puppets named Blitzkrieg, Bombshell, Kamikaze, and Wehrmacht, who fight alongside the Nazis. Puppet Master 10 Axis Rising was released on October 9th of 2012 by Full Moon Features. Danny and Beth must battle the Nazis after they use the puppets' life-giving serum to create a race of immortal soldiers, as well as some Nazi puppets. The film was met with mostly negative reviews. A reviewer for Dread Central gave it a score of 1/2 out of 5, calling it every bit as terrible as you might think, and then some. Film critic Dave Harlequin also gave a negative review with a score of 2 out of 10, calling it by far the worst release in the near 25-year lifespan of Puppet Master, and that's saying something. Cinema Craze praised Axis Rising, calling it a solid horror film. Okay, you must have been smoking something good. I watched this twice to the best of my ability. I should say I tried to watch this twice to the best of my ability. This series is like a weekend retreat of bad accents. In the opening scene, some dude dressed as a Nazi attempted to sound like a Nazi or German or something. I guess if you just throw in a Z in front of every word, you are doing a Nazi impression. In fact, Z, I'm going to do the rest of the review in my finest Nazi German accent, Z. I could probably play German in a Puppet Master film. Needless to say, this movie was terrible. That's a given. After the first scene, we need to make sure to pad out the whopping 80-minute runtime with the opening credits, which seemed to last forever. I hadn't noticed it in previous installments, but wasn't really paying attention either. I just happened to notice it this time out, probably because I want to be done with this series already. Danny and Beth are back, played by other people. I would have said played by other actors, but not sure they are. I was in a couple of movies also. I was terrible in them. I am not an actor, proving that you can be in a movie and not be an actor. Just because you can memorize words and regurgitate them on command does not make you an actor. I feel I'm being mean. I blame this movie. It brought out my inner asshole. Nah, I've always been an asshole. The movie introduced a fembot puppet, a booby Nazi, a Nazi with big boobs, and a shirt unbuttoned to reveal a massive amount of cleavage. As you know, there were tons of women Nazi soldiers with their cleavage hanging out of their blouses back in 1940s. Anyways, she's killed and reanimated into a puppet with guns for boobs. Yes, just like Austin Powers. This movie came out in 2012. Austin Powers came out in 1997. You do the math. That's where they stole that. Danny gives this stupid speech at the end that is supposed to be all dramatic and heartfelt. God, it sucked. I hate this movie. A Nazi monster squad shows up mowing down the Allies, and then the battle is on between the puppets we know and love and the Axis puppets, whatever. I think this battle lasted about 30 seconds. So epic. That's sarcasm. So epic they couldn't fit all that action into one movie. They didn't want to overwhelm you, so they ended the movie with a cliffhanger so you can pick up the story in the next shitty movie. One more thing. Whoever edits these movies, the music is way too loud in some parts, drowning out the dialogue. All right, let's try the next piece of shit. Puppet Master Axis Termination is a 2017 Puppet Master movie that continues where Puppet Master Axis Rising left off. It was the last of the Axis movies, which was announced by Charles Band in September of 2015. The movie began filming in September 2016 and was directed by Charles Band. In 1942, a soldier in a special division of psychics working for the American military must use the help of Andre Toulon's puppets to infiltrate the secret Nazi headquarters and put an end to the evil experiments being being conducted there. What is with it? What is with psychics and this whole franchise? This piece of shit was crowdfunded through Indiegogo. People spent money for more of this shit. I can't fault them. I spend money on a lot of stupid shit sometimes myself. Nothing much has changed here. You have your standard cast of people who try to act, most likely found through Craigslist. Charles Band promised that this would be the bloodiest, goriest entry in the franchise. What he didn't promise was that it would be any good. Charles Band teamed up with El Rey Network TV station to run a contest where the winner could star in the movie and be killed by the puppets. Fans could pay via crowdfunding to get a small role in the movie. I'm uncertain if any of that actually happened. There's no way to tell the difference between the actors who can act and the crowdfunders who can't act. And will someone please turn down the music while people are talking? It's so annoying. I think the director got their nephew to help with the sound design. It's a terrible mess. They're all terrible messes. Big surprise. Puppet Master, Blitzkrieg Massacre from 2018, and I'll touch on this real quick, but I didn't bother watching this at all. According to the description, the stomach-churning adventure starts off with Puppet Master Blitzkrieg Massacre, so is there going to be more? In which the gore collector recalls the sickest moments from the 11 Puppet Master film series to date, mashing them together with horrifying music and brand new moments of body-breaking mayhem. I don't know what it's supposed to be beyond yet another crash grab mashing together scenes from 11 shitty movies in an attempt to design another narrative to sell. I really don't care. It looks like they have some like comic book panels or pages in there as well. It exists. The link is in the description. Knock yourself out. Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich is a 2018 American horror comedy film directed by Sonny Laguna and Tommy Wickland and written by S. Craig Zahler. The film is the 13th entry in the Puppet Master franchise and is the first film produced by Fangoria under their Fangoria Presents label following their acquisition by Cinestate. It is a reboot of the series and stars Thomas Lennon, Jenny Poliser, Nelson Franklin, Barbara Crampton, and Udo Kier. It was released on August 17th of 2018 by RLJE Films. As of February 2019, the film has grossed over $600,000 through video sales. A reboot, another fresh start, and I was actually looking forward to this movie because I was reading a bit about it. The critical response was more positive than the other movies, so I regained hope. I remained positive. My coffee mug was half full. Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich was announced in May 2019 with D. Bonaventura Pictures and Caliber Media, later Cinestate, optioning the film rights, and S. Craig Zahler listed as writing the screenplay. Veteran Italian composer Fabio Frizzi scored the film. Never heard of the dude. Probably if all the other movies were at this level, I wouldn't be pissing and moaning in all my reviews. I'm not saying this film is a masterpiece, but at least it's interesting and entertaining. I didn't zone out 15 times thinking about my 2023 taxes. Michael Paré is in this film. I mean, like a real actor is in this film. So it was great to see him. The kills were pretty creative. My favorite was the guy taking a piss who gets his head cut off, and his head lands in the toilet, and then his body proceeds to piss on his own. I thought that was brilliant. The end gave us a to be continued, but it's been 5 years and no sequel on site. In sight, I should say, not on site. Are you kidding me? The only good movie out of this entire franchise, and there's no follow-up. I really like this movie. Really entertaining. Okay, this one and the third one is the only good one. The third one's okay. I mean, it was tolerable. The rest is just totally terrible. This one is far above any of that came before, and I can't believe I just watched a good Puppet Master film. A sequel to this never happened, though the company that made the film, Cinestate, one of their producers, who also produced The Littlest Reich, Adam Gahe, I'm butchering names as always, he molested a child on one of their movie sets, and it was covered up with typical Hollywood-style cover-ups. That ends the Cinestate and Fangoria collaboration real quickly. Nice job there, Adam, to ruin everyone's livelihood. Good job there. What I read online in a forum, and do keep in mind, I grabbed this off the Reddit, so a grain of salt not included here, but what I read was Cinestate only paid for the title of Puppet Master, the likeness of the four. They paid for the likeness of the four of the puppets and Andre Toulon's name, and they only had it for like 3 years, and they were going to do a trilogy. The second was going to be on some ship. So since the scandal happened, any of the rights they had were all lost. They'd have to go back and buy it again, buy the rights, and by then the company was literally got abandoned due to this stupid and Adam couldn't keep his hands to himself. So anyways, that whole thing is over with. They started down a great great road to some quality Puppet Master films, and then some asshole. Not only destroyed the franchise, not only destroyed probably some kid's life. I don't know. What a piece of shit. Anyways, instead of getting a sequel to this film, we got 2 more pieces of shit. So let's cover them and get this over with. These last 2 movies, I'm just going to blow on by, read the synopsis, and show the trailer. Both are lackluster at best. Both are terrible. I had an extremely hard time getting through them. I had to run both movies twice, and I still zoned out and or was working on other stuff. These are just not good movies. I'm sure you're sick of me saying that, and sick of me saying that you're sick of me saying that. Blade, The Iron Cross, is a 2020 solo Blade movie that was first announced in Delirium magazine at the beginning of 2019. It was made under the Deadly 10 banner, which is 10 full moon movies that were produced live in front of the audience's eye and had webcams on the set so that the beginning filmmakers and fans could have a chance to observe the mechanism behind a movie's production. Now that's interesting. Now that's probably pretty cool, and that's probably the only thing cool about this movie. This movie picks up directly after the events of The Puppet Master, Axis Termination, and will involve the character of Alyssa Ivanov, who has now become a war journalist. I don't even remember that character. It will only feature Blade, and the rest of the puppets will not be part of it. This is the first time a puppet from the franchise has had its own spin-off movie. This movie will premiere on Amazon, and it was never the problem of the puppets. It was always the problem of the bad scripts and the terrible acting. So back to absolute mediocrity and shit. What can I say? I don't recommend this movie, and there, I guess I said it. 2022's Dr. Death is the second solo spin-off film of this Puppet Master franchise thingy-dingy. The movie was confirmed on Full Moon Features' official Instagram page. This movie is a solo spin-off of the Dr. Death puppet from Retro Puppet Master. It started filming in July of 2022. How is that possible? When did it... This movie was released in October of 2022 on Full Moon Streaming. It was filmed in 2022 and released October of 2022. That explains a lot of things. In this standalone shocker, a beautiful young med student is trapped in a nightmare and must face off against the mysterious soul that inhabits an evil puppet. The most malevolent marionette in the Puppet Master universe comes crawling out of his trunk in this shocking sidebar to Full Moon's most beloved franchise. The scalpel-wielding Dr. Death is unleashed in a ramshackle nursing home, and once the terror begins, it refuses to stop until the pint-sized psychosurgeon has spilled blood. Get ready for the creepiest, crawliest, and craziest Puppet Master movie yet, babies. Cheers. And most thankfully, the last movie in this disaster franchise. The above synopsis is not from me. I didn't write that. I grabbed those from IMDb and Fan Mania. In no way would I ever use the words beloved franchise to describe the Puppet Master movies. Perhaps a loyal following is a better description. This film was absolute garbage, which makes sense if it was filmed in July and then released that same year in October. Makes sense. I skimmed through most of it. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to be done with these movies. Thankfully, this is not a feature-length film. As I think about it, neither are any of the other ones really. Most clock in like 70 or 80 minutes, and if you take out the opening and ending credits, like 60 or 70 minutes. A feature film is a film that typically has a runtime between 80 minutes and 180 minutes long. This distinction, however, can depend on whom you ask. The Screen Actors Guild defines a feature as a minimum of 80 minutes, whereas the Academy defines a feature as a minimum of 40 minutes. I call 40 minutes a short film. I call 60 minutes a short film. Puppet Master, Dr. Death is a short film, and I am thankful for that fact, as it was terrible. I was just going to skim through the last 2 movies, but my conscience got the better of me. How am I supposed to honestly review each movie if I don't watch the whole thing? I already knew it was going to be terrible, but the 60-minute runtime lessened the blow. And with that, we're done. Woohoo! I can now move on to my final analysis.
That is one big pile of shit.
So here's my final analysis on the Puppet Master Marathon, and I don't know why this image is so dark. Loom, the recording software that I use, seems to be having a bad day, but maybe it's appropriate for Halloween that we're a little dark here. So I did make a list so I didn't forget anything as we go through and make the final analysis. And the first one is I'm renaming this series Puppet Master. I did not like this series as a whole. I thought all the movies were pretty terrible. They're poop. They're shit. I know how difficult it is to make a movie. I've been in films. I've been in bad films. And I can admit that
I am not an actor. I'm a terrible actor. So I can look at myself and see that. I can look at the films I've been in and see they're not good, particularly good films. The process is fun. The process is great to go through it and do it. That's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a good time. You get to meet people. You get to be in a film, and you get to play. But the final result of my film and most of these films are not particularly great. So that brings my second point. I didn't plan this video expecting to watch these films and absolutely despise them. I didn't come into the Puppet Master franchise thinking I was going to hate every single film except The Littlest Reich, which I actually liked. The franchise has sustained itself. The franchise has been around since the 80s. I had no idea that these movies would be so terrible. How do you sustain a franchise that long with just a crappy movie after a crappy movie? You have a loyal fan base. You really have people that love this property, love these characters, and I don't know if they're just blinded by these films, or they just don't care the quality of the film. I'm not a particularly great B movie watcher. I don't watch a lot of B, low quality, low cost, low budgeted films. I have seen them. The Toxic Avenger, for example. I love the first Toxic Avenger. Um, so just to put myself in the context of maybe you're in a different context. I'm not a big B movie watcher. Most of them are terrible. I watched Attack of the Killer Tomatoes a couple months ago. The first one. The sequel was okay. The first one, terrible. It was absolutely garbage. So just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from. And just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. Malcolm from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
My next point, the concept was not strong enough for an entire movie, let alone an entire franchise. Not in the 80s, not in the 90s. Even the tools, the CGI came out. You would think these things would get a little better, but it wasn't really the puppets initially anyways. The puppets are awesome. The characters are awesome. The idea needs work. The scripts need work. Oh, the scripts need so much work. And the concepts, the ideas of the stories need so much work. That's what fails this franchise, is the script. I can't really fault the actors. I'm not sure if I can fault the actors or actresses. It's their direction. Maybe just bad directing, bad scripts, a combination of both. I do make fun of the acting in these. It's terrible, and most of it's terrible, but I don't know if I can fault the actor, the actress. I've seen really good, strong actors and actresses, famous people, give terrible performances. Even Robert De Niro, I've seen him in terrible performances with bad scripts, maybe bad directing. And I think that's the combination. I don't really blame the actor, actresses in this case. So with the story goes, then my next point, how many times are we going to delve into psychics and Nazis? How many times do we have to see the same plot over and over and over? The movie makers kept going back to the same dry well. The well was dry in the first place. The ideas weren't really strong in the first place, except for the puppets. And then you kept going back to that same dry well. It's not going to get any better. You know, what's the definition of insanity, right? The Littlest Tyke. I put The Littlest Tyke. I meant The Littlest Reich. The Littlest Tyke. The Littlest Reich was the only solid film. Maybe the third. The third was okay. It had stronger actors. The script wasn't necessarily stronger. It just had stronger production. And I think the actors propelled the third one up. They actually got people that could act, people who are known. And then that's it. That's like the only film they did that, and maybe The Littlest Reich as well. Both of those films. The other films, I couldn't tell you who the hell those people are.
Before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You're selling
Yeah, so there was supposed to be a sequel to The Littlest Reich, and this piece of shit right here pretty much ruined it for everybody. Not only just that piece of shit, but the piece of shits that I don't have any names. I can tell you the pieces of shit, but whoever covered up for him. Harvey Weinstein? Ring a bell, anybody? So basically, his actions, I don't think his actions as a whole totally ruined sequels. It was his actions and then people around him who covered up for him. And that just imploded into them losing the license, too much money to get the license back, the company that took over. And it went back to old school, the old crappy films. So too bad. It was the beginning of a strong restart of this franchise, and it fell apart, mainly due to this douchebag. Yeah, with the amount of talent and hungry writers out there, it blew my mind because every single film sucked. There are so many writers out there, so many hungry writers, to the fact that they can't get a good script. I mean, one movie, okay. How many movies are we talking? Over a dozen movies, I think. One movie here and there. They're not all going to be great. Every episode of Star Trek was not perfection. And then you had your brilliant Star Trek episodes, right? Same here. But every film sucked, except for Littlest Reich and maybe the third one. So the whole idea would have made a better toy line. So that's true. Yeah, I mean, it was the 80s, right, that this came out. These kind of toys didn't really come out until the 90s when McFarlane came around. You had your Star Wars, you had your G.I. Joe, but these kind of niche action figures weren't around until the 90s, the early 2000s started. And but I think that would have been better as a whole concept, as a whole idea, as a whole franchise to start as some type of toy line. It's just an idea that popped into my head while I was watching these things. I kind of said this already. I can't deny others love this franchise or its following. I just don't get why. I don't understand why it has such a strong following. I understand people are into B movies. People are into low quality schlock for whatever reason. They like the movie. They just like to see what people can do on a low budget. They just think they're funny. I think most of them are stupid, but that's my opinion. I watch Marvel movies. I love the Marvel movies, and a lot of people say the same things, that they're stupid and they're redundant and they suck, especially the new ones, which they're not always incorrect there because I don't know what's going on with Marvel. This isn't about Marvel. This is about Puppet Master. So I understand that there's a strong following, and I wish the franchise would continue. I don't want to see it go away, especially for people that love the franchise, but I just want to see them do stronger stories. These didn't help, these one shots, and I knew that was done to save money, I can only guess, to get product out there. And that's also what it seems. It seems some of these is just to get shit out there, just get product out there, just to make money, use the same clips, use the same this, use the same that. No, you have to have a good product. You have a good product, and overall, beyond the puppets and the overall concept behind the puppets, there's nothing here. The films are low quality and they're not good. So I will finish up just saying that. I'm sorry, Puppet Master. I didn't come into watching all these films thinking I was going to absolutely despise you. I was coming in with hopefulness because Full Moon, I loved the Transfer series, most of the Transfer series, like the first couple Two Tree movies, I loved. And so I knew Full Moon could make some good movies, but unfortunately, this wasn't the series that they could do it in. So I will leave you at that. Please, gals and guys, please subscribe to my channel if you could. And please like this video if you like it, and share it with any people that, I don't know, need to find something to watch this Halloween or not watch. I don't recommend any of these films, just The Littlest Reich. And you don't have to know anything about any of these other movies to appreciate that movie. I liked it very much. I thought it was disgusting and funny, and it was well written and well acted, and I really liked it. All right, gals and guys, happy Halloween to you, and I'm off to watch some more movies and do some more reviews. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.